Hey everybody, thanks for tuning in to another video. Take a minute, if you haven't already, go check out Dixieland RC. It's a terrific place to buy from, extremely fast shipping, and they really do care. I buy everything I absolutely can from there, and I seriously mean that. Everything I can, I buy from there, 100%. So, thanks for watching this video, hope you enjoy it. Take care, thank you. Hello friends, welcome back to the YouTube channel. Today we're going to talk about waterproofing and Castle Mamba X series ESCs. However, the misconception with Mamba X's is that they are waterproof out of the box. And I see a lot of times people complain that their Mamba X failed them. Well, they are not waterproof directly out of the box. There are some preparations you need to do to get them ready to see some water. Now, I've never pretended to be a professional, and I'm never going to. This method that I'm going to show you has worked for me flawlessly. I've never had a problem with water and Mamba X's. That completely been submerged, the whole 9 yards. I've never had issues. My 7-year-old, I cannot keep out of the water. If there's water to be found, he's hunting it. So I'm going to go over my method. If you find a better method somewhere, that's great, more power to them. Like I say, I don't pretend to be the best. What you will need to do the Mamba X is a 1.5 millimeter and a 2 millimeter hex wrench. You will need dielectric grease, quality dielectric grease. I use Permatex. And we're going to go ahead and get started. Now, we're in the middle or starting the very beginning of the Gen 8 build. This has some bearing on that. So we'll get to that as we go through too. The first thing I'm going to do, and the first thing you need to know, is these fans. Everyone has a misconception that they need to leave the fan on it. Well, the fans themselves are not designed to be waterproof. So you got to remember, this ESC has such a varied amount that it can do. It's so diverse. It can be a basher ESC. It can be all kinds of things. So the first thing we're going to do is remove this. After the fan is removed, we're done with it. It gives you 4 free screws. You can do with as you please. If you want to keep the Mamba X emblem, that's a bonus for you. So we're going to discard that. That's not necessary. Now, if you would like, these screws do dead end. They are still watertight with the screws out of place. If you wish to make it look better, or if you want to put your Mamba X plate back on, you will need to use shorter screws. Keep that in mind. Don't try to take the screws you took out and shove them back down in the hole. They will not go. The thread depth is not that deep. Next, we are done with 2 millimeter. It will not be used again. Next, we go to our 1.5 millimeter. We're going to remove this plastic cover that goes over top of the wires that go to the receiver, as well as your sensor and switch wires. So as we remove them 2 screws, that's all that's on there. Just leave them screws in the clip so that you know which way you took it off. If you forget which way you took it off, get the camera to focus, the top is flush. And I don't know if you can see it. Let's see if we can get this to focus in. There is a small lip that is right here. It goes the whole length. There, you can see it. You can see that lip. The top is flush. So side to side, top's flush. The bottom has the indent. So if you happen to forget where it goes, that's the way it is. Now what that leaves us is our wiring. And what we can do, and in case you get concerned about putting it together backwards, you almost can't because it's telling you. for instance, white wire. It's the only spot there's a white wire going to. This is easy to figure out as well, because you got your switches and you got your servo leads or your receiver leads on this side. So there's no real way you can really mess this up as long as you follow the diagram. If I can get my words out. So what we're going to do is remove the sensor wire. Grasp and pull. It should remove itself fairly simply. If you've never seen one, this is what it looks like. Holmes Hobbies makes a really nice Mamba X sensor wire that replaces this. And what it does is it eliminates this little dongle and plugs directly into the ESC and goes directly to your motor, and it's available in 2 different lengths. Very nice to get rid of this. This ESC, this particular ESC is actually for my wife's rig, and she'll be just using the factory Castle dongle, so she's going to keep the regular stuff. Now what we're doing, and you need to be extremely careful as you do this, and I'm going to try to do it in the camera and pay attention to what I'm doing at the exact same time. So I'm very softly going around the pins, and you can see the main thing is to not get any of this down inside the hole for the pin. But you need to have enough on the outside to create a gasket. If you get a little goofy on your tip of your dielectric, just wipe it on the side of the plug. Go around and feather it out. Get it. You can see I got it the whole way around. But nothing is in the center. Everything is clear and clean, but I have a nice gasket amount around the outer rim. And if you happen to get some in it, just wipe it off with a paper towel. It's not detrimental. Still getting used to this working in the camera stuff, so bear with me. Now that we did the end, you can see it's still, I got a build up, but yet where the pins go through is clean. Now that we've done that, now we're going to take, you see where the pins are on the back? You can see the shiny metal in the middle of the plug. We need to coat those. Coat them good. And we're not really pushing it in there. You don't want to push it in. You just want to go along the outside edge of it. Okay? Next, we are going to reinsert this. And I know what you're thinking. Well, what about the top? Well, we'll come back to that. So that can be reinserted. And like I say, if you follow the diagram, you can't mess it up. Okay? I always do the sensor lead first because to me it is the most imperative to get correct. Okay, and it just slides right back into its home. So it's good to go. Next, we remove this one. Now you might wonder why I'm even bothering to do this one. Well, I'm telling you from experience, and I've been down this road, that if you do not do this one, you will get water down in the ESC. That water will mess with your auxiliary. The Mamba X comes with an auxiliary port. That's why you got 2 leads on it. This 1 wire white, 1 wire port is your auxiliary port. You use a separate channel in the radio, and you can control all kinds of things, from adjusting your drag brake to switching from rocked race mode to crawler mode in an instant. So, but if you get water down in there, they arc out essentially. It messes with the signal for that port, and it will throw the radio off. I've been down that road. I had to disable it because of the mode I was operating with. So I do this port as well. So we're going to do the exact same thing we did with the last one. We're going to work it slowly and evenly. This is one spot where patience pays off. And I would suggest, if you haven't done anything like this before, try it on something else first. Don't go straight to this. What will happen is dielectric grease is actually an insulator. It doesn't allow electric to flow. So, with that being said, especially with as low a voltage as this is, there is no breakthrough with it. If you get this on a pin and it puts a film on that pin, what will happen, and this is actually perfect, I messed this one up a little bit. So we're just going to take and wipe it. As long as you don't force it down into the hole, you're fine. It is not going to affect that ESC whatsoever. You see, my holes are cleaned out. Alright, like I say, I'm not a pro. And that's something that can happen to anybody. So, and I got that a little bit, whenever it smushes, I'd rather it smush out than in, so I kind of want it to feather out. Okay? And it looks like I got one hole I want to pay a little bit of attention to. And honestly, it's just this fan lead, which we're not using anymore anyway. So if you want to get real technical, you don't even need to worry about it. And honestly, all the more that would be in that, it's not going to affect us whatsoever. I want to get a little bit more on that back edge in a couple spots. There. So that one's done on that end. Okay. Sockets are all clean. Has a little shine to it just because I wiped some off, but inside the sockets, it's fine. There's nothing there. And same way with this, we do not want to force the dielectric grease in there, because if we fill that socket, that connection up with dielectric grease, there's a possibility that it may not work properly. So, just word to the wise, if you do this and you put your Mamba X in and you're having sensor issues, or you're having auxiliary port issues or radio issues in general, you may want to pull this apart and clean the fittings. You clean the stuff off. So just kind of a word to the wise. So we're just going to follow that diagram. That's not the correct way, right? It needs to flip. So that's the correct way. And our diagram tells us that. And then that's going to go right into place. Simple as pie, nice and smooth. Okay. So now that we got our harnesses in place, we're going to do a couple more things with our dielectric grease. To seal off the upper side of them harnesses like I was talking about, we're just going to go in between each wire as best as we can and apply some pressure to the dielectric grease and work that grease into the wires, into them plugs. You're not going to force enough down to mess anything up at this point, but you are going to get enough into it to make sure that moisture does not penetrate. Dielectric grease acts as an insulator and essentially a water repellent all at the same time. So it's a terrific product. Now, if you really wanted to get crazy, you could try to fill this case up You could go across the front, which my front is essentially sealed because it's a tight connection. But if you wanted to try to fill the back of this up, you could possibly do it, but honestly, we got a gasket created at the bottom, and we should not have any problems. Now that we're not using this, what I do, because I'll never use it, they'll always be in crawlers that I don't need a fan for, is I literally take and seal them shut just to keep water and moisture out. If I ever need to use that plastic will pop apart and I can go in and do some work to it to clean them fittings up. Or should I say connectors. So, and then if this is in a spot where you do not want to get yourself coated in dielectric grease, force the grease into this location you want it, and then give it a quite quick wipe off with just a paper towel. Okay. Another good thing to do whenever you push it down, I've done this enough, I know I'm good, but whenever you push that down, if you take a flashlight and look down on the back side, you will see the dielectric grease squish out around the plug. That's a good indication that you got it. It is not perfectly smooth down there, so that's why whenever I did them, I had a little bit of a buildup on it. And I'm, like I say, I'm more concerned with the sensor port, because that one will really mess with you compared to the radio port. I haven't had too much issues. Just that one time with the aux port, doing that little bit of dielectric grease, I've never had that issue since. And I've had it in more water since. So, we already had our black piece with our 2 screws laying there. And since the screws are still in it, we know which way it goes in. There's no way we can mess it up. So, we take it. And this has to be on because this piece actually pushes down on them connectors and makes sure that they stay in place and don't move. So we tighten our 2 screws down. Now I will tell you, on my son's truck and on my truck, I do fill that void in the back just because I know they're going to get quite swamped. And this is pretty much a one-time deal, folks. I mean, you do this one time and it's not something you need to repeat again unless you're changing a sensor wire. So if you change a sensor wire, nice thing about doing that method that I just showed you without a ton of extra grease in there is whenever you pull the sensor wire out, it's all clean. You put your new one in, it reforms that gasket, you're good to go. So, now that that's done, for those of you following along with the Gen 8 build, you will probably see this in the near future. We're done with the Mamba X for now. So, on the motor end, as well as that little dongle end I showed you earlier, essentially it's the same concept. Okay? Like, for instance, on this end, you would do this part, you would do in here, and I'll show you what I do. Okay, this is the motor end. It doesn't matter on this particular plug which one end is which. The only time it would matter is if you're using that Holmes Hobbies adapter. But for a regular sensor wire, both ends are the same. So you don't want to fill that full of dielectric grease. What you want to do is essentially the same thing, except I do this plug differently because this plug is a little different in how it fits and what you can get to. So what I do is actually go around the outside of it. And you can be a little bit more giving in how much you put in around the outside. Same deal with this part. And I actually, on this particular spot, stay back from them pins slightly. No pressure, don't force it in. Okay? Next, we take that, and what we're going to do is plug it into our motor. Okay, we make sure it goes snugly. It should pop right into place, and you should know that it's interlocked. Next, we take and go around the top of our sensor, just like we did on the ESC, getting both sides and pushing it in. And then I make sure that the sensor itself to the motor has a small amount, although this really isn't going to make a difference. It's just kind of my OCD. I've sealed everything up there. I might as well give it a little second small dosage. So that's that. And then, so that every time you touch your truck, you don't get that on you, what I do is normally I take my finger on this application, because I don't mind if I push a little bit of that in some of them grooves, and then I wipe it on a paper towel, and likewise for the rest of it. Get as much of it as you can, because if you don't, you know every time you work on your truck, it's going to be a pain. So, now we take, and it's alright to wipe it off because it's coated. There's a film on everything. You will not have problems with that sensor port. Hello everybody. Yeah, I know. Why am I looking at you again, dude? I forgot why I was making my video to bring up a very common knowledge part, but I wanted to make sure I covered it for new people. Castle switches are not really known to be very good for waterproof switches. If you do anything at all in water with them, eventually, sooner than later, they fail you. So, with that being said, you got two options. If you're somebody that doesn't run in water a whole lot, or you don't get in deep water, you know, there's a difference between running up to your axles and run it up over your roof. If you don't get that deep into water, then the switch is really an optional thing. If you keep it dry, keep it up above water, it'll work for you for a good while. However, if you do notice a problem where your ESC does not turn on or doesn't work, first thing you do want to do, especially if you don't have any lights, nothing's at all is working, is cut your switch off and solder the wires together. If you're somebody that plays in a lot of water, deep water, or just in water all the time, and no matter what, your truck's wet, just bypass that stuff altogether. Cut the switch off whenever you get it, and solder the wires together. It'll save you a headache down the road. So, hope you enjoyed this video. If you enjoyed this one, let me know in the comments if it's something you liked. But I run XT60s. I always solder on JSTs to run BECs and my winch ESCs off of. So that's what's up with that. And hopefully you guys liked it. So like, share, subscribe, do that stuff. More interested in helping people than I worry about how many subscribers I have. I'm not that guy that's out chasing every single subscriber. I'm more interested in you guys learning something and me learning something along the way and just growing the RC community. A lot of you may not know it, but I do these videos for multiple reasons. I just named a couple of them, but my primary reason is we never know how many days we have. And if something would ever happen to me, my sons have a collection of videos that I have done to possibly help guide them along the way. So, kind of, that's where some of this stuff comes from, and things like this, you never know when it comes in handy for anybody. If you're a new person just starting, please, if you have questions, ask. If I don't know the answer, I'll get it. If I still can't get the answer, I'll direct you to somebody that is a pro. So, alright. You guys have a terrific day, night, whatever time it is you're watching this, and I appreciate it.